What up? It's your boy T-Burn Reaction, today's music reaction. About to check a video from the homie L Train from Luke Kitchen. About to check out one of the most, the beat that lit, that beat that's loved, one of the most iconic hip hop beat till this day that became a started out as a iconic drum break to becoming a hip hop song in the old school, and then later being reintroduced due to a TV show. Cause with now added a iconic dance move to it. This is called how Apache became hip hop national anthem. As I said, start off as being one a breakbeat, originally a breakbeat body bongo band as well too. To later being a hip hop single. Into a hip hop single made by one of the first hip hop artists, superstars of all time. Well, I won't say superstar, side hip hop artists of time, the Sugar Hill Gang, and then later be revived. Their single itself will be revived by a TV show who ironically stars a hip hop legend as well too, who and him and his co-star would come up with the iconic dance. And that's none other than Freshers Bel-Air and aka the Jump On the Dance as well too, and which would be reinvented in the Bel-Air remake recently as well too. I actually saw the episode. So anyway, without further ado, we're gonna take a look at the story behind this iconic hip hop national anthem that started from the 70s when it came a breakbeat to being one of the most thought out songs to this day. Let's get it.
You've definitely heard this break before.
Man, of course, yeah.
But its story is full of wild coincidences that helped spark a whole new
genre. I knew it!
It started with a cowboy movie, a British songwriter, and a band that didn't really exist. Years later, it found its way to New York, soundtracking early hip-hop parties and becoming one of the most sampled songs in history. So how did everything align so perfectly for Apache to become hip-hop's national anthem? To find out, we need to go all the way back to the 1950s. The story begins in 1954, when British composer Jerry Lorden sat down to watch a western called Apache. At the time, Lorden was a former RAF radio operator, chasing his dreams of becoming a successful songwriter. Inspired by the film, he decided to write a piece that captured its mood.
Yup.
Cut to 1960, Jerry was now on tour with Cliff Richard and his band, The Shadows. Still looking for a home for the song, he played it for them during a break in the tour.
It was a pure chance that we were offered Apache by the composer Jerry Lorden, who was on tour with us. He used to compose on a ukulele, and he just strummed the chords, and he sang the tune, down, 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 down. We all loved it.
The group were immediately drawn to the track and recorded their version soon after.
Wow. Got a long history in that then, my fault.
Their producer, Norrie Paramore, however, wasn't convinced.
He said, I've got your next A-side. It's going to be an old army song called Quartermaster Stores. And we said, Norrie, Apache's just so different. He said, tell you what I'll do. I'll take it home and play it to my daughters. He went back to his daughters and played both tracks, and they chose Apache.
When the Shadows finally released Apache in 1960, it exploded, topping the UK charts for 5 weeks. But what they didn't know was that Jerry had already offered the song to another guitarist months earlier, Bert Weedon. Weedon released his version shortly after the Shadows hit, but didn't get anywhere near the same level of success. Apache wasn't just another rock tune, it was moody, cinematic, almost mystical, like a spaghetti western played on electric guitars. It had conquered Britain, but America was another story. That changed when Danish guitarist Jørgen Ingman recorded his own version, reaching number 2 on the US charts.
Wow. It's crazy this passed around.
Apache had officially crossed borders. Then in 1962, surf rock pioneers The Ventures released their own cover, adding something new, bongos. The percussionist was King Erison, a Bahamian drummer whose name will come up again later in this story. By this point, Apache was a household name. What came next, though, would be Apache in its final form, at least in the traditional sense. By the early 70s, Apache had already travelled the world, but its most famous version started with a man who wasn't even a musician. His name was Michael Viner, a former political aide who'd worked on Robert Kennedy's 1968 presidential campaign. Looking to reinvent himself, he turned his attention to the entertainment world. Known for his sharp marketing instincts, he spotted an opportunity in the most unlikely place, creating a record for the world's most famous mime, Marcel Marceau.
There's nothing on that record until you get right to the very end. It's got 5 or 6 cuts on each side, and right at the end, there's a laughter. It's a novelty record. So he was a marketing genius.
Each side featured 19 minutes of silence, followed by 1 minute of applause, and somehow it sold 40,000 copies. That success earned Viner a production deal at MGM Records. In 1972, while working as a music supervisor on a low-budget movie called The Thing with Two Heads,
they've transplanted my head onto your body.
the soundtrack was nearly finished, but it still needed 2 more tracks. So Viner called in producer and composer Perry Botkin Jr., who'd recently scored a film called RPM.
There was a riot at the end of the picture. I had to think about how to deal with this, so I thought, let's do it all percussion.
Wow.
Jimmy Gordon on drums, Frank Capp on drums, and then 4 other percussion players playing tambourines and shakers. I got the groove going with Jimmy. And Frank Capp, meanwhile, was sitting there looking at the picture, and when somebody give a punch, he'd go bang! And he'd hit the cymbal, he'd do all of this and catch the action.
The percussive energy was exactly what Viner wanted for The Thing with Two Heads. He and Botkin brought together a rotating cast of elite session players and called their new project the Incredible Bongo Band. Those first sessions produced Bongo Rock, a cover of a Preston Epps track, and Bongolia. They were meant as quick soundtrack fillers, but when Viner heard them, he sensed something bigger. He decided to turn it into a full album. To record it properly, the team headed north to Can-based studios in Vancouver. Engineer Keith Steen set the scene on the process of recording the album.
The ceiling height and the dimension of the room were really ideal. The board came from United Western in Hollywood. Pet Sounds was done there.
These were the greatest musicians in the world, in a great studio, a great producer.
So it's a combination of the room, the board, the tape machine, the microphones all went together to make this golden sound.
The lineup was stacked. Jim Gordon and Cat Hendricks on drums, King Erison, dubbed the unsung hero of Motown by Berry Gordy, on percussion, Jerry Sheaf on bass, Mike Deasy on guitar, Robbie King on organ, and Steve Douglas on the sax. And it was Perry Botkin's arrangements that would leave space to really create that breakbeat magic on the tracks.
I would write an arrangement for the band. We would do 1 chorus. Then Jimmy and King would play for sometimes 8 minutes.
That chemistry between Erison and Gordon, percussion and drums locked in conversation, that gave their version of Apache its pulse.
Perry left the opening for me to start, and then his arrangement came in around the start. And that's how Jim and I got into, let's say, a cat dance with the drums between he and I.
When the Bongo Rock album dropped in 1973, it went mostly unnoticed, scraping the Billboard chart at number 197. The credits were confusing, the concept was strange, and the market wasn't ready for a percussive instrumental record from a made-up band.
But on that album was their cover of Apache,
a track that for now slipped quietly into obscurity. Apache might have been forgotten by the industry, but in the early 1970s New York, in the Bronx, a new sound was beginning to form, built from those same forgotten records.
Summer 1973, a lot of action was going on in the city streets of New York. That was the beginning of the birth of what we say hip-hop culture. Before that, we didn't have no name. We used to call it the boyons, the go-off.
At the center of it all was DJ Kool Herc, a tall Jamaican immigrant named after Hercules, due to his sheer size. On the turntables, Herc was developing a new way to move the crowd, focusing on the most explosive part of each record, the break.
The breaks came out of an experiment. I'm watching the people dancing. A lot of people used to wait for some particular part of the records. I'm studying the floor. I'm like a shepherd. I'm watching the flock. I was noticing people used to wait for the particular parts of the record to dance to, just to do that special little move. So I said, listen, I'm going to do a thing. I'm going to call it the merry-go-round. So I put all these breaks that I know that I have in my collection together. At the time, I had a record called Apache off an album called The Incredible Bongo Rock. And that record set the tone.
And what Herc was doing was completely different from the disco DJs downtown.
Usually the DJs in the clubs in the Midtown Manhattan played all the records. What he played was a portion of the record. We used to call it the get down part, but later on it was named as break beats.
When the drums dropped, the B-boys and B-girls hit the floor, each one battling to steal the spotlight.
That was the climax of the party. You would go through the different genres of music up until you got to that part where Apache came on. And when Apache came on, your hat went on backwards and you got it in.
And at those legendary parties, future DJs were in the crowd taking notes.
A host of other different guys was in there at the same time as me that I did not know. These guys became DJs later on, such as Flash, Mean Gene, Grandmaster Caz, AJ. They was the next offsprings that started becoming DJs in the Bronx.
Wow. In those early years, hip-hop could only be experienced in a live setting, in parks, rec centres and basements. But it wasn't long before all that changed. By the early 80s, hip-hop was moving from the parks to the studio. What began as a live experiment on turntables was now being put on wax.
There's a record that came out in 1981, which was pretty much the first demonstration of scratching and cutting a mix of records. It was by Grandmaster Flash, and the name of the record was called Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel.
Yep, the Bongo Boy, yep. Bongo Rock right there.
It was a 7-minute demonstration of Grandmaster Flash cutting up about 10 records, giving you a taste of how life was in the Bronx. That is where I'll say 99.44% of us first heard the Apache break.
That same year, the Sugar Hill Gang, of Rapper's Delight fame, reimagined the track in a whole new way.
Yup. There you go. Yup.
Their song, also titled Apache, turned that hypnotic break into a full-fledged party anthem.
Apache was just like Rapper's Delight. Apache was a break, bongo. So we used to spin that record too. The formula was whatever breaks we were using in the parties, now we had a whole musicians, arrangers, they would look at it, analyze it, and then they would create.
An underground hit at the time, the record brought Apache roaring back into people's consciousness. And throughout the 80s, that rhythm became a go-to break, sampled, looped, and flipped by everyone from LL Cool J.
Yup.
You can't dance.
To Cool Mo D. To the ultramagnetic MC. And just when you thought it was done, in the early 90s it had found yet another home, this time on primetime TV.
Here we go.
The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air brought the track to a whole new audience thanks to Mr. Carlton Banks. That one scene reignited the Sugar Hill Gang's version, introducing Apache to an entirely new generation.
Facts.
Apache was a mild hit for us when we first cut it. So now time passes, and Will and Carlton do this whole episode, and do the dance. From that point on, it took the record to another level.
By this point, Apache had gone through multiple incarnations. From British pop to funk.
And then every time you hear it, you can't help yourself but do the dance. And then he did it on Bel-Air. I love it.
Bronx breakbeat to global dance, becoming one of the most recognizable rhythms on earth. Right, time for a quick break before we move into the next section. Here at Loop Kitchen, we cook up melodic, soulful samples, the kind that sit perfectly under classic breaks like Apache. And here's one we made earlier.
See how they put it together. Ooh, I like how they did that. Ooh, I like how they set that up though.
If you want melodies like that to pair with your favorite breaks, check out our sample packs. Right now, all the packs are buy one, get one free with the code JUMP on it. And if you're a producer or a beat maker looking for a community, come join our Discord. We've got sample flips, feedback channels, and regular beat battles happening there. And the links for all of those are down in the description. Across 5 decades, the legacy of Apache only grew stronger. It's been sampled in more than 800 songs, from Nas and Missy Elliott to The Roots, Amy Winehouse, and countless underground producers. In the UK, its break became one of the cornerstones of jungle and drum and bass. The same rhythm that once shook Bronx block parties, now rattling the club systems across London. Michael Viner, who brought the group together, King Erison and Jim Gordon, who crafted its unmistakable rhythm section. They might not be household names in hip-hop, but their legacy is undeniable. Kool Herc once called Apache the national anthem of hip-hop. He wasn't exaggerating.
There's nothing more hip or more hop than Apache by the incredible Bongo Band.
And if you want more stories like this, check out our Behind the Records series in the playlist on screen.
Cool. Yeah, man, definitely a good story and taking more than even beyond the 70s as well, too, though. I'm trying to see if he put anything new yet. That was the Skull Step one I did recently was the most newest one, though. So I still got some that I'll got for further back though. If he hasn't made any more yet, I'll definitely check out when I get a chance, though. But anyway, this is definitely a good little way to recognize a hip hop track that is definitely became something that went from bands in the UK to a band for a soundtrack in the US to a hip hop breakbeat to a hip hop single, and then the single hip hop single getting rediscovered because of a TV show based off the star a hip hop artist as well too. And the rest is history. Other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bird signing off. One love.